I'm sitting here today thinking about social systems and are the systems of old broken? Is it time for change? I'm John Spade. This is the Egg for Thursday, October the 21st, 2010. Welcome again. I appreciate and thank everyone that tunes into my little webisode whenever I put it out. I was going to say every day, but we know that that doesn't happen. um, So today I want to talk about a few things that are pretty interesting. I'm not going to say the developments in the news, but they're things that everybody should be paying attention to. First off, California is getting ready to vote on something pretty controversial, but it shows signs of life that maybe we're starting to move in the right direction as far as a collective and taking fear and ignorance and pushing them aside for reasonable and logical debate. And I'm talking about, of course, the marijuana bill. There, for whatever reason, and I'd like to think that it's part of the whole collective as the internet, as we get closer and come together as a society, that it is creating very reasonable dialogue. And I think the control that media has had in the past and their ability to instill fear and the fear mongering that goes on with the free press. I take shots at the media all the time. And I have friends in media and I respect their profession. I respect what they do. Some of them are very talented, but they're working for an establishment that hasn't changed in like 60 years. It's the old guard, the stuffy old suits who are looking at ticker tape. And I say ticker tape, it's an old reference. They're watching the stocks, they're looking at their investments, and they're always thinking about how they can squeeze a little more out of it. And sometimes what that causes is their idea of what free press is gets skewed because they're more interested in bottom dollar, bottom line. So they have a tendency to bow to these, they're invisible people off on the side who take offense to ideas about freedom and legalization of drugs and anything that has to do that messes with their sensibilities. But I think that segment is getting smaller because we are growing as a society, probably more in the last 10 years than we have in the last 200 years. And I'm starting to think that the old guard's not ready for this. They're sort of back on their heels. They're not sure how to deal with it. They're not sure. They don't have answers anymore. But the sad reality is it's that small percentage that still controls so much of everything in our world because they own everything in our world. It's the old adage, there's 1% of the world's wealthy, and I think that number's changed a little because of .com and everything else. It's still a pretty small and insignificant number of people that control over 90% of the world's wealth. There's a shift happening though, because the internet's given you and I the ability to communicate one-on-one, to share ideas, and to go, you know what? It's not reasonable anymore to follow these old rules. Fear-mongering, it's remarkable. So, there's a lot of ignorance that comes around ideas about drug use, marijuana. These have all been part of the establishment for the last 50 or 60 years. I think back to an old movie from the 50s, some classic propaganda called Reefer Madness. And to watch this movie, you sit there and you wonder, what kind of person came up with the ideas for this movie and how over the top it is? And if you can find it on the internet, it's something worth watching. It's it is just it's a piece of Americana, and you sit there and you watch it and you go, the ideas that we had back then, and of course when that came out, there was also the Cold War, and between the press and the American government, they were able to instill complete paranoia about the threat of the Soviet Union, communism and how they were going to rip your freedom from you and, kill your firstborn. It was remarkable that they were able to take a whole nation. And this spilled into Canada as well. I wasn't immune to it. I remember I believe it was grade probably 1 or 2, 3 maybe, growing up in the Maritimes. And we were doing very real fire drills in the event of a nuclear attack brought on by the Soviet Union. And we would do these drills fairly regularly. And of course, this is sort of the whole fear and then the ignorance and it all coming together. And the idea, was that in the event of a nuclear attack, by hiding under our desks, we would somehow be protected from such an event. Shoot forward, we're in 2010. No longer can we have the wool pulled over our eyes. We know that marijuana isn't a gateway drug to bigger and badder things. We understand that drug addiction is a effect of something bigger, and usually it has to do with mental disorder and factors way beyond smoking a joint. We don't talk about alcohol abuse, and hopefully we're going to get to that and have that discussion too. But what's important right now is in the States, they are looking at finally changing the laws, and stop wasting. And in the United States, they've spent, latest reports show they've spent in the trillions of dollars fighting something that you can't win. Most law enforcement know this now. Most people that have, finger on the pulse of society, who are leaders and builders of society, understand that we can't keep going down this path. And my hope is it's going to trickle into Canada as well. And we're finally going to start moving towards sustainability and get rid of the fear about marijuana. And, because hemp production can save us so much as far as our environment goes. And, the thousands of uses that hemp has. I'll talk about this on another egg because I don't want to waste the whole thing. I want to talk about, I guess sort of the theme of my egg today is fear and ignorance and how the media has been able to manipulate us for so long. And it seems like that's finally changing because we have instant feedback and there's an instant push from, minds that are able to take information and make logical sense out of it. And what I want to talk about, of course, is the fear of, what I would say it's ignorance of the unknown. Down in the States, Fox News has been in this whole mess. Bill O'Reilly, he's on The View. And I saw the clip for it and my jaw dropped, especially in this day and time. And I talk about the old guard, and I talk about these antiquated dudes who they don't have a clue. They're not plugged in. They've got old ideas, and it's all based on their ignorance. So he's on The View, and he says this, and you're just like, did he do? It was that unreal. It was surreal. Muslims killed us on 9/11. Muslims killed us on 9/11. There are gentlemen that killed a few thousand people on 9/11. Conspiracy theories put aside, they were men. It was a group of men. It represented, the number is like 0.0000895. Like it's ridiculous how small the number is of the persons that represent what happened on 9/11. The idea of what happened on 9/11 and the idea that we're going to kill other human beings based on religious ideologies. We're getting past that. We're communicating with people of all other races. We understand, and we should all understand, and the fear-mongering has to stop, that we can't demonize one group of people based on what their religious ideologies are. So I'm so excited because I think, again, the internet is bringing us all together. It's creating dialogue, and it's, we're going to watch people like Bill O'Reilly. You shouldn't have a job. Go bag groceries at 7-Eleven. Do something else because, man, your ideas are out there, and you should not be allowed to be the voice of the people, because unfortunately you have a responsibility when you're in front of the camera and there are millions of people watching. You have a responsibility to society to spread honest and true ideas about the world that we inhabit. And unfortunately, you are trying to use fear mongering to get ideas across that just aren't mired in any realism. Oh, try not to get too wordy here. I'm sorry. It's another thing that I'm passionate about. Anyways, to finish on this, I want to make sure I get it right. And it's this Fox News again, right? Because I don't know what Fox thinks about. Fox does some great programming. They put out some shows. I'm starting to think maybe those shows are designed to dumb us down. I'm not going to go there because they do entertain me. Another host, Fox and Friends morning show. What's his name? Kilmeade. He's adjusted and he's apologizing now. He's taking it back, but you already put it out there. But he basically said all terrorists are Muslims. When does the word of a journalist through television, radio, print become gospel? That's what I want to know. You know what? You have a responsibility to humanity, and hopefully the establishment starts to shift and realize that we need to be, I don't know. My thoughts are jumbled right now because, this is something I'm very passionate about. I think we're on the right track. I think in the next few years, all these ideas, you know what? We're going to start working together as a society, regardless of what your beliefs are, and realize that the idiots out there that are afraid and spread word and ideas about hate, those people, they represent a very small segment of the population, and let's ignore them. They'll go away. They really, we have bigger things to be worried about, and that's going to be another segment. Why are we afraid of the things that we can't see, and yet when we put things right in front of us, and we know that, hey, these things can harm us, we dismiss it. Something to think about. This is The Egg. I want to thank you for tuning in today, and I'll talk to you later.